Hey everyone, welcome to Note Investor Podcast. I'm Dan Deppen, and today joined by the guys from Win Mobile Homes. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here today with the Call the Underwriter and the Note Investor podcast. Definitely a
Yeah.
pleasure.
No, I appreciate you guys coming on. So maybe start by maybe you guys can just introduce yourselves a little bit and kind of go from there.
So I'm James Guajardo. This is my partner and my son, Alden Guajardo. We run primarily Win Mobile Homes and Mobile Mailbox Money. Our business model, we're a licensed bonded dealer. We're also a note originator, and we buy, rehab, and resell manufactured homes and parks. That's our specialty. So we focus on low-cost housing market, which is mobile homes and parks. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about that, the value of why somebody would invest in a mobile home note. And that's always been a big question as we attend note events around the country and so forth, and we try to help calm the investment waters and go why it makes sense in comparison of acquiring single family home notes.
No, that's
Yes,
also. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
we started the business in 2017, operating as a licensed dealer under the Department of Housing, buying and selling for cash. And as we started to develop that strategy, we found the need for financing on manufactured homes, as it's not as easily accessible for individuals on a alternative asset like that. There's a few lenders, but it's kind of case specific situations. With the evolution of the demand needed for a financed product in manufactured housing, created the opportunity of us cultivating the seller finance on manufactured housing to borrow qualified borrowers, which ultimately created a long-term cash flow investment strategy as a note. So as we cultivated more notes, we had to raise more capital, and that's why we're here today on the Note Investor podcast.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming. So yeah, no, I think this is a great topic to have because it seems like from my perspective, like mobile home notes seem to be more common. I don't know if it's just like I'm getting more exposure to them with the call the underwriter stuff or not, but I know like when I started in notes, like yeah, about 2017, like some of the people I learned from, advocated kind of sticking to single family. I actually bought my first mobile home note last year, and I've got kind of my personal view on them. I kind of like them. I feel like there's more risk, but then you get compensated for that in other ways. But I'm interested in learning more from you guys about how you approach them and or how you would view what you would look for purchasing a mobile home note.
When you talk about 2017 and previous years, the real estate market across the country was a completely different world. And hedge funds have been coming into the market, and because they've raised average single family home pricing historically, as we've seen, note investors that have been in the market for a long time, they're used to investing in the Midwest market like Indianapolis and having a note that's paying, say, 6, 8, 10%, whatever it is, and the average balance was 15 to 40,000 bucks. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's happened is because market pricing has gone up with Blackstone and all the other institutions that have been buying up the market. Now the average note, say in the Midwest market, could be $150,000 on something that was $50,000. But you have all these seasoned note investors that are used to and have the capital they're used to buying these small deals, these small balance deals, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, and have been capped out. And we run into over the last year attending events, a lot of note investors still have that mentality. Well, yeah, I want that $30,000 note, and they can't buy it in the single family space anywhere in the country. I don't know anywhere you can buy it. Maybe in Birmingham, Alabama, something like that, super depressed market area. But if the person leaves the property, now you've got Birmingham, Alabama that nobody wants to live at. It's a real
Mm-hmm.
depressed market, and it's probably going to get vandalized and all sorts of drama and take forever to resell that note or resell that property and do another owner carry. So I think that one of the big reasons over the last couple of years that manufactured homes and parks have become a higher level of interest are two major factors. Number one is because the average, like in Arizona, average single family home is about $400,000. So it's up there pretty high. Average sale on a say a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, manufactured home, all age park in a stable community in Maricopa County, which is our primary county, is going to be anywhere from say 75 to 150,000 bucks. So essentially, a note investor could diversify their investment holdings with the same, say, $400,000 that they would buy one note. They may be able to diversify and have maybe three, maybe four notes and be able to, diversify their risk. The other thing, because you're called the underwriter and you understand the underwriting component, the interesting thing about it is that we discuss with investors the situation that the buyer has to get double qualified. So number one, they have to get qualified with the park. And all parks, most parks are owned by institution or follow the same institution guidelines, especially in Arizona. So if someone's ever had an eviction, or at least in the last 10 years, they're out. They can't even apply. If they've had
Wow.
any type of serious felony whatsoever, they're out. The park wants to see verification of, say, 2.5 to 3 times lot rent income. So they've raised the bar. They're looking for 600 plus credit score. That bar just keeps getting higher and higher. So the people that actually can qualify are more of the cream of the crop, that really those people may even be able to buy a condo, townhome, or even a single family home. It's just not in their place with the down payment they need, or it's just not working out. So they look to manufactured home as an alternative. Instead of having a $400,000 mortgage, they can have an $80,000 mortgage and have only put maybe $5,000 or $10,000 down. And like for us, we do 20-year notes. So as you mentioned, on the interest rate side, we're getting a convenience rate of 14%. So
Mhm.
we're giving normally people that probably couldn't, they're just under the threshold of being able to qualify for a single family home, but they've beat the threshold requirements of the park because the park ran them through the ringer to get qualified. Now they go through us with our Dodd-Frank compliance. And so they've been double qualified. It makes it for a much stronger note that's going to continue to perform. And that's our basic approach to even investors as to why they would invest in a single family home with $300,000 or $400,000, or diversify it across, say, 3 or 4 different notes on manufactured homes and parks. Also, to remember, Arizona is probably now a top 2 city to move to in the country, especially with what happened with the wildfires in the West Coast. So it didn't hit
Mhm.
all high income people. There was a lot of moderate and low income people that their houses got burned down too, or their condo or their apartment. So there's going to be this whole rush for the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to have a rush of people coming from California that need a place to live and they need a safe place. So we know that Arizona is it's just baking right now with new industries that are coming here, what's happened with the wildfires in the West Coast, and it's just a great place to live. So in comparison to buying that Birmingham or that non-interested Midwest market, like in the Dakotas or whatever it is, or Ohio, people are moving
Mhm.
out there, they can invest in a manufactured home in a park in a top 2 market in the country. That's it. See ya.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, hasn't like, and I think Arizona's historically been a migration path from
It has
California
been.
already, hasn't it? Yeah. And then I'm curious too, do you guys still get a lot of retirees? So I mean, I lived in Colorado for a long time, but I grew up in Florida, and it seemed like all the retirees, like from the Northeast, like tended to go to Florida, and then from the West, they tended to go to
There's
Arizona.
Lot of snowbirds here,
yeah, tremendous
55
amount of
and older
snowbirds.
market's pretty big. That's how we started cultivating availability is in 55 and older communities. A lot of Canadians coming down, trying to, vacation the better weather at any given time. But it's really interesting. I think now is a better time more than ever in manufactured housing to hedge an individual's bets because of not only the new desirability and the insulated environment from natural disasters, but also the state of emergency elected in affordable housing. And while everyone else is focusing on residential real estate transactions, you know, the golden nugget at the end of the rainbow ends up being manufactured housing, as it's 10% of housing here in Arizona. A lot of people don't realize
Oh,
that a vast amount of homes and transactions that are happening here in the background of a highly desirable market in a new financial criteria. You know, there's a lot of hedge funds that are and big institutions that are hedging their bets in personal property manufactured housing, like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett owns Clayton and Cavco, are two of the largest manufacturers of mobile homes, and 21st Mortgage, who takes the long-term hedge and originates the chattel mortgage on manufactured housing. You know, with all these case specific items of like California wildfires, new desirable destination, our cultivated underwriting stamped off by a licensed mortgage officer, and a lot of politicians are talking about the affordable housing crisis. You know, that kind of hits a lot of boxes. I think, you know, as far as the risk mitigation in the program, as well as an investor who may be watching that has kind of turned their nose up, you know, at the idea of buying a mobile home note. I think there's a new election to be had of this asset, not only because it will outperform yield wise in comparison to a residential real estate note, but also, you know, the diversification ability to perform with the same capital and buy a number of doors opposed to a $450,000 house. It kind of a new election here for this asset.
yeah, and that makes sense, right? Because you're saying like there's like higher interest rates on them, you know, maybe a little bit higher risk, but smaller, what I call bet size. Like I used to play a lot of poker and stuff back in the day, right? So you can make a larger number of smaller bets. And even if they're a little
Right.
bit riskier, that's okay because, and that's kind of what I've done with some of those smaller, you know, you were talking about the cheaper residential stuff in like the 2016 era. That's what I was kind of doing with non-performing land contracts and stuff there. You know, they're smaller size, so you can afford to do more of them. And I think what you said about the pricing makes sense. I think you said that the if the average price in Arizona is 400,000, I mean, that's a lot. Like a family where, you know, people are working hourly jobs. Like I'm not sure how that works. I know in 2001 when I bought our first starter home in Florida, it was like 129,000, like three bedroom,
Right.
two bath. And you know, we could easily afford that at the time, but like buying a house for the first time, that was kind of scary. Like that felt like a lot. I couldn't imagine spending like 2 or 3x that
Right.
on like hourly type incomes. Like that's just that might work for some folks, but that's not going to work for everybody.
That's the truth. You know,
That's the problem.
where's the give at the end of the day, in a market where average purchase prices are 450,000 and average income is 60,000, you know, that doesn't so much translate.
The reality of it all is Blackstone did a beautiful model across the country. They're turning the vast majority of people that would have been homeowners, they're turning the entire country into a rental market. And
Hmm.
because of that, you get that wealth disparity, and ownership of homes has become just a fraction of the US market are homeowners, and the vast majority of people are going to be renters for the rest of their life. So how do we capitalize on that? And that's why we look at you know, low cost housing. Arizona doesn't have low cost housing besides manufactured homes and parks.
It's a state of emergency.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
not that they're renters. The entire valley is renters.
So at this point, in the market, given rental rates and things of that nature, if we can cultivate a seller carry finance program and match or beat market rent, and they own that home in a community with established amenities, pools, jacuzzis, maybe school pickup and drop off, it's gated in a desirable area, and they match or beat market rent with the note and the taxes, insurance, and lot rent, they become an owner in a neighborhood style environment. That's kind of where I think, the rubber meets the road and why that's such a stable investment for an individual, given the security and the current financial market with Blackstone and Cobblestone buying multifamily, raising rental rates. That's not so much going anywhere.
And that's the big kick of really the basis of our long-term investment model is what is rent? Average rent is $1,900 to $2,000 a month, 1,900 to 2,000. So if we can find out what the lot rent is, and if we can put a loan payment, and between the lot rent and loan payment with taxes and insurance, if it can be what current market rent is, or a little less, or right about it, we're gonna find a buyer. We're gonna find a buyer for that because they're like, I'm paying $2,000 a month for rent and I'm in a 1-bedroom studio, or I can buy a 3-bedroom remodeled home from these guys in a park. I've got a wife and 2 kids and we're in, a very small apartment with no room whatsoever. Or I can go over to this manufactured home is 1,200 square feet, double wide, fully remodeled.
3-4 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 4-bedroom, 2 bath. I have room. I have my own parking.
City water, city sewer,
Yeah.
city trash.
Yeah, it's off to the races.
Are they building new mobile home parks in Arizona, or are they kind of using what's existing?
So most parks are grandfathered in, the current parks. There are a few that have popped up in the northern Arizona area, like towards Flagstaff and just south of Sedona, those areas. But I don't know what they had to go through in order to make that happen. Those are 55 and older communities that have opened up because of the lack of housing in northern Arizona around the Sedona area. Because Sedona, average price I think in Sedona is $650,000. So in that area, and even up in Flagstaff, who's going to be able to afford to buy that? Where the people that work in the hotels and the restaurants and so forth, they can't afford that at all. So they're having to drive an hour, hour and a half into these small little suburb towns, and they're still going to be renters because everything is just overpriced. But that's happening. That's a problem across the whole United States. It's just relative to what that whole price is.
Yeah, that sounds similar to what we have in some of the mountain towns in Colorado. I've got a good friend that's high up at Vail Resorts,
Right.
and they're always making these proposals to mountain towns to build these, apartment type things because, property values in the mountain towns are just
Crazy.
really, really off the charts. And so, if they're going to bring someone in to work a lift or something like that doesn't work because they got to keep all the restaurants and hotels and ski resort and
Yeah.
everything running. But it's always this challenge because the towns don't want them, and so they have this constant tussle. And yeah, to your point, so people are making these hellacious commutes and other things, and it kind of just doesn't work real well.
I think it's going to start kind of opening up as far as the city's election to allow development of mobile home parks and things of that nature, bringing in the alternatives of alternative dwelling units and things of that nature. We saw Phoenix here, passing legislature to allow those alternative dwellings to open up the availability for housing, and they may do that in Colorado. For all I know, they have the Boxable and stuff like that popping up.
Have you heard of Boxable?
I have not. I mean, is that like a modular like
Yeah,
prefabbed
yeah,
kind
it's a
of thing?
prefab that's built off site. It's normally about 600 to 800 square feet, and they just literally bring it on an 18-wheeler and then crane it and put it in. So Arizona passed, I think it was a year and a half ago, the ADU, whatever the ADU rule.
Yeah.
And so now any home can get an override ability to get approved to have an ADU dropped in the back of their in their backyard to put additional dwelling unit for the mother-in-law suite or whatever it is. They've really loosened up requirements. But what they haven't loosened up is RV parks and mobile home parks. Because as much as we think that they're just gonna, because there's a problem with housing, there's a problem in California with housing, and it just goes from the West Coast, just starts streaming across all the high demand markets. I'm sure Denver, Colorado still has the same problem.
Yeah,
And
big time.
yeah, so, but the problem at the end of the day is the people that own the homes do not want a manufactured housing development or RV park next to their $500,000 or $1 million home. They don't want an RV park or mobile home park. So as much as we think the city is going to probably open it up, it's going to be in those unique areas of redevelopment where there's multifamily or something like that, mix it in with apartment complexes or whatever it is. But there's always that pushback because in theory, it brings values down if you're right next to a mobile home park and nobody wants it.
Yeah, yeah, and we do have a lot of the same challenges in Colorado. My fiance used to work for Denver Housing Authority, and so like the other year they had this lottery for vouchers to get these like quote unquote low income units, and I think they were like $2,500 a month or something. Like they were not
Not that
low
cheap.
cost at all, and I think they had like 600 vouchers available, and they had like 30,000 people throw their hat in the ring for the lottery. So yeah, we're
You know,
definitely way out of whack.
I saw a thing on the news, it was about 3 years ago. They did the same thing, but it was for free housing, like Section 8 free housing in Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
Georgia. And they put it out in Atlanta on the news the night before to show up at this location to get in a lottery, stand in line for a lottery. That the lottery wouldn't even officially start. You were getting a ticket for the potential to get in a lottery like 3 years afterwards, and they said like 50,000 people showed up. Like it was
Oh
just
wow.
a sea of people that for however many lottery tickets that they were going to give out, but it was just the whole city was full of people all trying to get and stand in line because the reality is in certain markets, people just want to live for free and live off the government. But that was
Yeah.
my summation of it all. But the reality is it's gone. I mean, we're going to have a lack of housing and housing shortages, especially across the Midwest and headed west because of these fires and things like that happen. It's going to create a new influx. I mean, when are they going to build back that California market, that whole area where all
Oh, the
that?
Palisades. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
guessing that's going to take a while.
it's going to be
Yeah.
years. So where are all those people going to go? They've got to go somewhere. So they may go up towards Colorado. They're definitely coming to Arizona. They're probably going to Texas, and it's going to feed additional demand to where there's currently a shortage in the market as it is. So we're going
Hmm.
to see that it hasn't had that full effect yet because it just happened. But I think over the next 2 to 3 years, it'll just continue to increase and keep that demand up. Now we have the issues with Home Depot and Lowe's and all the manufacturers, all the people supplying raw materials. We're going to have issues with trying to build at a reasonable rate is going to go up because of all the new manufactured, all the new development that's going to go on in California is going to drive all that concrete and steel and lumber materials are all going west over that way. So all the pricing is going to go up. So the cost of housing is going to go up because
And
there's materials are going up.
and that cost of materials is already high
Yeah, it's
to
already.
begin with and already creating a lot of different issues.
I think it's a real challenge, but at the end of the day, that's why we firmly believe, and I've done custom homes, small multifamily as a builder and investor, and I've done land developments. There's no place I believe that is as stable as low-cost housing of manufactured homes and parks. Added to that, raise the level and the bar. The institutions are smart. They're like, we don't have to take everybody. There's so many people that want our product and want to live in our parks that we can just take the cream of the crop. So we're not allowing people with an eviction. We're not allowing felons, and we're wanting verification. We want solid people that have a good credit rating. So once they come to us to actually acquire, if they've been approved with the park, the chances of these people are really, really tough for those people to default because not only did they get required there, then we run them through our Dodd-Frank compliance, so they're
Yeah.
double qualified. So as we talk to the note investors around the country and attend events and stuff like that, we really put that information out. Hey, you guys don't realize these people have to get double qualified. If they're buying a condo or a townhome or single family home, do they care if they're a felon? No. Do they care? Do they care if they do care if they've had an eviction, and they'll probably follow that, but it falls off within a short period of time. But our requirements are higher for them to get qualified to live in a mobile home park than they are to get a regular loan on a regular home.
Well, and that's right, because typically criminal background checks generally aren't a part of like a single family
Right.
underwriting process.
Right.
And the other thing I was going to ask you about, like, I know one thing that sometimes people wonder about when they're new to mobile home loans is they're like, well, it's a, it's a chattel loan. What if my collateral just gets towed away, like in the
Yeah.
middle of the night? Whereas,
Great,
yeah,
great question. Yeah, we get that frequently. It can't just pull off on the back of a flatbed at the end of the day. It's got to be permitted. You've got to hire a transport company. I got quoted from the factory brand new about $40,000 here from the factory in Arizona, just for within 50 miles, and setup costs it included. So if you think about an individual who bought a mobile home or manufactured home on the want for affordable housing, and they're maybe going behind on the payment or whatever, they're probably not going to come out of the woodwork with another 40,000 to move the house at the end of the day. But anytime you walk into an investment, there is risk at at the end of the day, but there is a tangible permanent asset, in a desirable area. But also, if an individual buys a note from us and that note goes non-performing, we'll at cost help that investor ultimately repossess title, go through the formal processes to get keys and retitle the home, and market it back for sale on our already available marketed platform, which is Win Mobile Homes.
So we, as Alden is saying, we're really a turnkey company, and we're a support service company for the note buyer who buys a note from us. And as he mentioned, if for whatever reason the note is defaulting or whatever, we'll do it at cost, and we'll help be that boots on the ground, whereby they don't have to go send a $2,500 to $5,000 retainer to get somebody evicted out of a house. We already have a streamlined process, already have an attorney team. That's all that attorney team does is evictions. They're just a mill for evictions. So we have our average eviction from start to finish is about 30 to 45 days of literally getting somebody evicted out of the house, even if they're a owner, including going to court and including attorney fees. Average cost is about $600. So in Arizona is a trustee deed state, and a lot of states are either mortgage states or trustee deed. Arizona is a trustee deed. If you have a single family home or condo or townhome and you own that house and you have a note, say, on that person stops paying, they have 3 months, which is 90 days, to be late before they even start the last 3 months, which is their cure period. So you send them their notification of foreclosure, but you have to wait till day 91. And after day 91, they have another 30 days before you can run them through the courthouse steps to facilitate the foreclosure. So somebody could be living in your home for 6 months for free, and if they file bankruptcy, they can extend that. In our process, if they're 5 days late, we do have the right to give them a notice after 5 days to pay or quit. And within 30 to 45 days, we can actually have a court hearing with an attorney that's representing our investor to do the eviction process, and they immediately order the writ, and those people are out. We do our best. I mean, when it's a note, we do our best to help try to mitigate not having to evict somebody. And
We're not in the business of taking people's houses at the end of the day.
Well, right. You want the payments every month. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't go after it in a like a pit bull of, hey, let's just evict them and get them out. We actually reach out to them at whatever our cost is to reach out to them and find out what's the deal. Oh, you lost your job, you need help, you need a month, or how do we work this out? And if it sounds like a credible story, and you know, that could be 50-50 whether it's a credible story, but
I know, yeah.
we do our best to get them performing. And if they can get performing in a month and a half, then they're off to the races. Maybe put that late fee and stuff on the back of the note and just get it worked out. We only help the note investor and encourage them when the person's really not answering, or if they vacated the property, or they're just being aggressive for whatever reason, which is real rarity. Because a lot of times when they're living in a manufactured home in a park, that's their last stop. If they get evicted, they're going to be living on somebody's couch from then on, because nobody's going to rent to them or anything like that.
Nor can they go anywhere
Mhm.
for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean that we're you know, you're
Yeah,
out.
you're kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, other than couch surfing. So that's very, very cool. So, I think we talked about this a little beforehand, but yeah, I was very jealous of all your Masters merch and you guys going down there. So
You know what's funny? We just had some corporate guys. We did a Zoom call with them, and we're starting to do a little education event, and we did it earlier today. And these guys, actually, they're note investors with us, and they're like, "We would like to critique your podcast that you're doing we were prospectively doing it every Thursday at noon." And we're still looking at doing it on Thursdays. We're just not sure it'd be a weekly kind of thing.
And that's our
Mhm.
mastermind. We are teaching people how to raise private capital and notes.
Which is
Okay.
really pretty cool of what we're offering, because we're doing it for free, and we're gaining a lot of knowledge, even our own self, of just talking it out. But one of the things that the one of the corporate guys happened to mention, he's like, you know, when uh, I kept seeing all the stuff that you have on the front of your desk. You got to clean that up. You should be at like a new style desk where it's perfectly clean. And I'm like, yeah, man. I think way back when in the 80s or 90s, that was it. But we want to show our wares. You know, we've been to the
Yeah.
Mag every year. We take clients. We have the Note Expo. We have some other.
We had a booth at the Alternative Asset Summit. We were featured in the largest mobile home listing platform in the nation under acquisitions and capital investment. That's MH Village, next to a couple other $100 million companies.
Right. What year is
So these
this?
are a couple of the accolades to the Masters. You know, we go to the Masters
2022
every year.
Masters. Got another couple Masters hats over there. So this is just kind of our wares of our life that's sitting out there. So it's kind of cool.
Wow, very, very cool. Well, guys, like thanks again for joining. I really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you if they want to
Yes.
learn more?
So we've started an accredited investment fund that's Silvercrest Opportunity Fund, providing investors a bank quality stability given the current financial market, creating homeowners. That's silvercrestopportunityfund.com. Individuals could buy a note from us on our platform at mobilemailboxmoney.com. There's an individual actually waiting right now to answer your questions via live chat. And to see our seller finance manufactured homes, that's winmobilehomes.com, or call us direct at 602-888-CASH.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us on, and hopefully we'll see you at one of the Note events.
Woo,
Yeah, I
woo.
think I'll see you at Noteworthy in a couple weeks.
There
All
you
right.
go. We'll be there.
All right.
We'll have a booth.
Perfect.